Thank you very much for piling in with all of those. So how can you prove this? How do you know it's not fabricated? That's from John Gunn. That's just something that a lot of people are asking. Unfortunately, we're not there on the ground. Big Phil, talking sense as always. That's from Ben Jerem. So you've got a fan there. Why would the government wade in with absolutely no evidence? A, if it actually happened, and B, who carried it out, from Tony Wyatt?
This no evidence thing, right? This no evidence thing is... Where are you getting the no evidence from? That's what the press are telling you. Is it the press telling you there's no evidence? Look, there's troops on the ground. There'll be all sorts of activity going on, bringing back and providing evidence, okay? So once that evidence is substantiated, then you have to do something about it. All these pictures you're seeing in the press of people pretending to be dead and all the rest of it, forget about that. And don't also put out of your mind, okay, that there will be certain things for operational security of the people that we have in place from this country, that not everything will be leaked out to you anyway. Okay, so you won't know the whole story until it all comes in later on, a lot later on, because like I say, otherwise you're going to compromise the lives of operators that are on the ground right now. So you can't have all that information, right? So when it comes to, let the thing pan out, do you know what I mean? But you've got to have some confidence. We voted this government in, okay, and like it or lump it, if you don't stand behind it and start whinging every time they do something, it's detrimental to the effect it has on the troops that are actually out there doing a very difficult, very hard and sensitive job. And if they don't think that they've got the backing from the people back in the UK, it just makes the whole thing worse for them as well.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well, look, guys, we did a poll here at Westmonster, and 80% of you were against military action in Syria. So it's a totally unscientific poll, of course, as all the best polls are. Westmonster's followers on Twitter were 80% personally against the action in Syria.
That. I don't particularly want military action, but what I'm saying is if you have to do it to achieve something, and don't forget, we want to remain a credible force within the world powers, because if we don't, we then can't offer sanctitude to other people, we can't bring them in, we can't look after this, we just get swallowed up and washed under the carpet, and we don't want that. So if it needs be, and it's determined that, there is something that we need to do, then obviously we have to go for it.
Yeah, for those of you just joining, we've got ex-SAS legend here, Big Phil Campion. We are talking, for the moment at least, about Syria and about whether or not Britain should intervene. We're moving on to talk about the domestic terror threat and crime as well, so please do stay tuned. We want your comments, we want your likes, we want your shares, and please don't forget to support Westmonster in any way you can by going to www.westmonster.com/support to help us grow. On this Syria thing, I don't really like sitting on the fence on issues. It's not really something that's intrinsically in my nature. I like to form an opinion and then be as loud about it as I possibly can. That's the way I work. But this is an issue where genuinely I can see both sides of it. I really can, and I can see the positives and negatives of both sides. And it is potentially a monumental decision. And the jury's out for me. I think, for me, what I can't get over is if you do have a bloke who you can prove beyond any doubt whatsoever is using chemical weapons against kids, I think you should probably wipe him off the face.
And the jury can't make a decision until they've seen all the evidence. And we're not getting all the evidence at the moment, and we won't get all the evidence. Because to do so would jeopardise the efforts of our brave men and women that are working over there right now. So it's one of those that you're going to have to ride this one through. Do you know what I mean? And of course, no, everybody's against military action in any scenario, but sometimes it's required, okay? And if it turns out that it was required, then, so be it.
Well, there we go. Well, you're saying as well that we all know, I suppose, that we've been involved in Syria for a little while. There was a story that we did on Westmonster. A UK soldier was killed fighting ISIS in Syria. And obviously, I understand that you're not going to be able to reveal anything that could compromise anything like that. So I wouldn't ask you to do that, Phil. But, we've been in Syria for a little while, haven't we? I mean, could you maybe try and give people a little bit of a picture of the reality, or close to the reality, at least, of the situation over there for us?
It's another very difficult place. Obviously, I went to Syria myself and worked with the YPG and the YPJ and did my filming over there. So I've had a little bit of exposure to what's going on over there. I've been amongst Assad's troops, I've been amongst the Kurds and all that sort of stuff. It's a difficult place to be. And the job that we're asking our people to do is basically not only help out with the local forces and make sure that they're doing things correctly and getting the best out of them, but they're also verifying and bringing back information and all that sort of stuff, which will justify any actions that are taken further on down the line. So it's a very difficult, very sensitive job. And, unfortunately, this brave man has been killed. It's a terrible thing, but it's a product of the nature of the business that we're in, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and I always find it a bit naive when you see these politicians that stand up and go, oh, well, we don't know all the facts, or where's your proof for this, or whatever, Well, you have no idea, and neither should you have any idea of the reality of the world in which some of these people operate. The reality of the world, the situation that goes on over there. The nation, in my opinion, doesn't need to know every little gory detail about everything that goes on
No,
behind
and
the
I think
scenes.
what we are now is a nation of people that, because of the publicity and the gadgets that we've got, we demand every last piece of information and every last drop out of everything.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the real world doesn't work that way. Do you know what I mean? You can't just be shoving that stuff under people's noses.
What we're going to do 2 days before D-Day? Just tell them exactly what we're planning. Come on.
We're coming over. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Ain't happening, is it? Do you know what I mean? And that's the sort of thing that you're almost looking at here, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Let's throw all our plans on the table and let them know we're coming. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. But just to round off the Syria thing, in terms of you are at this stage pro-intervention yourself. You would.
I'm pro-intervention if it's required.
Right.
If it's not required, if it's proven elsewhere, then let's just. We're going to have to stay there. Because there's still a mess there. And look, let's look at the consequences of if we pull out altogether, do then the Kurds get swallowed up? Do ISIS re-emerge into the camp that So there's all sorts of things.
It's a mess, isn't it?
It is a mess. And like I say, you'd need the brain of a small planet to understand it fully. But you can't just it's not an on-off switch, this thing. You can't just turn it on and off. We're involved, and so we have to try and do the best job that we can. And I'd just like to see a little bit more public support to get behind the efforts that are being made to resolve this, rather than kicking, squealing and bleating and just bringing the whole thing down all the time, because that's what gets on my nerves.
Well, look, guys, Big Phil is a regular on this show. It's good to have him, so can we get a big thumbs up for Big Phil, please? And do wade in with your comments, as always. So, yes, we are going to... Well, I'm staying in Syria, technically, but we're going away from the impending war, or maybe the war that never quite will be. We are now talking about some of your favourite topics here on Westmonster, the ISIS jihadis, the so-called Beatles that went over... British citizens that went over became best mates with Jihadi John. You may remember him from some of the depraved execution videos that were taking place over there. Now, these two vile war nut jobs, I suppose you could call them, have been captured. And they are demanding that they now come back to Britain to face trial. They're also saying some things like they miss the food, they miss fish and chips and, quote, pickled eggs. Well, I mean, you probably should have stuck around then, boys, shouldn't you? But what's your take on this, Phil? Should these people ever be allowed back into the country? Is there any possible benefit whatsoever to not wiping these guys off the face of the earth?
Unless we bring back a judicial system that allows us to execute people, then no, these people shouldn't be coming back. Right. And if they do come back, they should be executed, in my opinion. To give them a name like the Beatles, where there's only... I call them the dung Beatles, to be honest. They're just vile, horrible, despicable people that have gone over there to cause damage, and now they've been caught. They're as guilty as a puppy next to a pile of poo, and of course they're trying to negotiate their way out to the best deal that they can have. My best deal for them would be I'll let you back in the field, and hopefully we'll get you properly next time. Yeah,
well, fair play, and that's your opinion on that. Yeah. I mean, from my perspective with this, look, what possible... Britain's prisons are already a bit like a jihadi recruiting ground at the minute anyway. There's a lot of radicalisation goes on behind bars. Why on earth would you ever want to introduce two of the most bloodthirsty, hardened terrorists that this country's ever produced back into that prison system?
It's insane. It's like saying during the World War II, I'll tell you what we'll do, we'll get Goebbels and Goring, and we'll actually just bring them in, we'll look after you. Yeah. All right, it's not a problem. Do you know what I mean? We can't do that. We don't want that in this country, okay? And all right, I don't even care if they're a homegrown product. If they're a homegrown product, they have to go behind bars for a very long time. And I've said that before. Yeah. If they're a homegrown product, well, you can come home. You're going to prison. Yeah. And for me, that sort of stuff, it's treason, and treason is still punishable by death, as far as I would have it. Do you know what I mean? And that would be it.
Yeah, well, look, guys, thank you for all your comments coming in. Amanda, Mandy, yes, I can see all your comments. Don't worry about that. Never, ever let them back unless it's for a meeting with the gallows. That's from Anthony Pratt. No. That's from Shirley Bay. That could be about anything, but I normally get that a lot myself. They have no rights. And slot them. That's from Wayne. And no, never hang them. Richard McDonald. So an eclectic range of views there about these ISIS scumbags. But no, I think it just seemed like common sense. I wanted to know your opinion on this because I've heard a few bits and bobs. We can't really go into too many specifics on this show, but about Britain seems to be increasingly very prepared to do deals with a lot of these people that we capture. So you get the information off them or whatever it is that they can be of use. But then it just seems like we'll almost sort them out a little bit. Whether they come back and they're allowed back into normal life, maybe they're given council houses, that, the other. Are we being a bit too soft?
There are no deals that you strike up with me at all.
Yeah.
And if there is deals being struck up, then they should be opposed at the very highest level. There is nothing we can do for these people. They've made their choice. They've decided what they're going to do. You are now on the opposite side of the fence.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, do you know what I mean? You've made that career decision that has now put you out of touch with what we can do for you, and that's it. Bust.
Well, that's it, and I think that, you know, no one can possibly claim, can they? Oh, I didn't realise what it was like out there. You know, we've all got the internet.
No, they all know. They all know exactly what's going on. They all know exactly what the score is. So the sooner these people are clipped, the better.
Right, there you go. Well, Nikki Elsie, Phil talks pure sense. There you go. Fantastic. Alexander Smith, do not let them back. Only thing they deserve is a bullet or the noose. So we do love our pumped up Westmonsters here. Ange has been in touch. Cracking name. My grandma's called Ange. So well, Angela. So excellent. Don't want them going to prison here. They made their choice. Leave them to rot. Guys, if you like what you see, please do give us a retweet or a hello to all our Twitter followers, of course, and all the people watching us on YouTube. And do give us a big thumbs up if you're watching on Facebook. Give us a share. We value your support, so please do help us out in any way that you possibly can. Now, moving away from some British terrorists that are not in Britain, let's have a look at some that might be. So there's some here. There was quite a harrowing story that slipped under the radar a bit in my book, about what was going on, potentially, on the London Underground. I just brought the wrong story up for you there, so sorry about that. But it's just a story about the people that were potentially working within London's underground system, Transport for London. They have now been purged. Now, this seems a bit odd to me, that we would be in a situation where you would have government officials going in to the London Underground to get rid of people that could be radical, that are working there. I just find this absolutely mental, but I think it poses a wider question for me, Philip. Do you feel as though there maybe are these coordinated plots ongoing around Britain at the minute? Are we at risk, do you think, of something slightly more large scale than what we've seen in the past, or not? What do you think?
I think there'll be plans in the pipeline from these subversives to do something in this country. And like I say, it does go to show that the lengths that we're going through to combat this are working to a certain degree. These people have been rumbled.
Yeah.
They've been shifted on. Do you know what I mean? But I think sometimes I just think like we're getting it the wrong way around. Do you know what I mean? We are putting a lot of effort into over there. We should be putting a lot of effort in over here. And some of these people from here shouldn't be accommodated here. They should be accommodated over there, shouldn't they? You can go home now. Do you know what I mean? Or if you're that way inclined and that's what you want, well, go and join the rest of your people. Do you know what I mean? Because we don't want that over here. Yeah, well, that's obviously a very interesting view, and it's something that I know that our viewers have got very, very strong feelings on, especially when it comes to regards to things like the foreign aid budget. You know, people will often say, look, we're trying to do too much abroad, and actually, there's things here now that are a bit of a mess. Yeah, of course there is. Yeah.
You know, and we need to get them sorted out. And this is one area where you would like to see presumably more resources pumped into. Not just national defence, but the intelligence side of it, the police side of it.
Yeah, the intelligence side of it, the police operations, you know, the kit, the equipment, the training, all that sort of stuff. It's all a bit of a letdown at the moment. And it all just reeks of this, you know, snowflake attitude of softening everything down and making it all, you know, because things are getting harder, not easier with these people, do you know what I mean? So it needs bolstering up, not down. And it just, I don't know, it needs gripping. Somebody needs to get behind it and grip it properly and get hold of the whole situation and properly get amongst it.
Well, let's get stuck into a couple of your comments. We need people like Phil in Parliament. That's from Martin Punnett. And Darren, is that something you fancy ever doing now?
You'd want me there until the budget was up, and then I'd be off back to Barbados.
There you go. Yeah, I can practically smell another expenses scandal. Darren Sansom saying, listen, I want to see proof that Assad committed this gas attack. There's been too many false flags, and this bombing from us and the USA could lead to a war that could destroy the world. That's returning to our earlier topic that was, should we engage in military intervention in Syria? Big Phil seems quite onto it. The jury's out, I think, for a lot of people, though. It's one of those, there's respectful disagreement on both sides.
Yeah, and I know, I can understand where that last geezer's coming from. We want to see the evidence and all that sort of stuff. But to do so might jeopardise the efforts of other people over there and, even worse, compromise their well-being. So, you know, from me, understanding the way the system works, there has to be a little bit of a soak period while we understand fully what's going on before we can start shoving all this evidence under people's noses. Absolutely.
Well, look, guys, we are now going to take a little look abroad at the jihadi threat in the European Union. So, it's a story that I believe you'll be familiar with now. It's flashed upon your screens once before. It's here again. 10 jihadis have been jailed in Barcelona after plotting attacks. This is actually mental. I mean, obviously the whole thing is mental, but this is especially mental. They're plotting attacks, including kidnapping and executing somebody on camera. And this is a terror cell, and they were planning around one of the famous landmarks of Barcelona to basically gather a load of people up, put them in the orange jumpsuits, and behead them on live, whether it's, I don't know, Facebook or YouTube, whatever they were planning on doing there. They actually were foiled by an undercover police officer who managed to get embedded with their group. Now, I mean, I think I just wanted your take on this, Phil, because the terror threat in Europe is obviously well documented. It's pretty massive. Do they have a worse terror threat than we have here in Britain, and if so, why?
Right. They probably at the moment do, I would have said, and it's purely because on this migration of people this way, we've got a nice strip of water in between us and them, and it's quite difficult to breach that strip of water. Okay, so
unless you're you, of course, which you have
and
done.
And I have done, and I have brought all sorts across as well, which we might one day get to see. But anyway, so unless your name's Phil and you happen to want to show people up, no, right. So these people predominantly are finding their own ways to go once they get into Europe, okay? And like I say, they're setting up their own communities, and they're extremely dangerous. And that sort of thing, that plot, a proven plot, that is insane. That is insane that you would even be thinking to do something like that. Do you know what I mean? And that's what we're up against. That's the level of, you know, and to not be everybody up in arms and absolutely thrashing this until the problem is gone, is, in my opinion, absolutely. We're losing the plot. We're losing the whole thing. I'm losing the will to live with it anyway. Do you know? It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean,
absolutely insane.
I think that is part and part. I know we've had chats slightly before on this show about open borders and about things like that. I mean, I don't see how anyone can claim that having an open border system
absolutely not.
Can't put you at risk.
Never, never, ever should we have open borders. They're put in place. I don't have an open front door because there's people I don't want coming in my house. Okay? That's the way it works. So we shut the door and we lock it and we only let people in that we want in. Can you understand that, politicians? That is ridiculous. It's a basic law of the jungle. Do you know what I mean? Monkey throws nut at monkey coming up tree if monkey doesn't want monkey up tree.
Oh, here
ridiculous.
We go. Big Phil.
It breaks me. It breaks me. It honestly does.
You can have a stroke.
It's insane.
But look, it does make common sense, doesn't it? And this is one thing, we have got this wonderful natural barrier of the channel, of course, between us and the continent.
We're quite well placed.
Yeah, actually, as things turn out, luckily enough, this rock in the ocean is actually quite well protected naturally, but you know, really, you cannot deny that open borders leaves you wide open. Now, here's one that is just absolutely mental, and I want to get your guys' comments on this, because this is something that you, again, might not have seen in the mainstream media, which is why you need to be watching us here at Westmonster, which is why you need to be supporting us here at Westmonster. Go to westmonster.com/support. Please give generously, please help funding what we do here, because we want to help grow. But this story is just absolutely crackers. In Turkey, there was a mosque, in Germany I should say, there was a Turkish mosque that gave children army uniforms and fake guns, made them perform some kind of military ceremony, even martyred some of them, well, as in pretended to martyr some of them. And actually the whole thing was to reenact a battle in which the Turks overthrew part of the West. Now, I mean, call me backward, I don't know. Call me stupid. Isn't this a bit weird? Isn't this a little bit odd?
It's weird, it's indoctrination, it's radicalisation, it's everything that it shouldn't be and should absolutely have been closed down the second it happened. It's insane that you would put little children in a position where they're pretending that, oh, let's kill the Germans. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
You're living in Germany. I think I'm right.
So you've taken your refuge and you're going to totally bite the hand that feeds you. This is what's basically happening all over the place, isn't it?
I think I'm right in saying, obviously someone might fact check me on this, but I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying the largest population of Turkish people outside Turkey is in Germany. I think I'm right in saying that.
It has been for a number of years, I'd have thought.
You know, so you've obviously got a huge community there now. You know, this has got quite a big potential to create, as a German politician has said, it's a sign of a parallel society. He says it blatantly contradicts any attempt at integration. And this is it, isn't it?
Of course it does. It absolutely goes against every rule that we pride ourselves on and how we live our lives. And therefore it can't... the writing on the wall for us in this country is what's going on in Germany, what's going on in France. The writing's on the wall. It's coming. And everyone keeps looking at it and going, no, it's not. It's all right, we're okay. No, we're all right. No, we're not. It's happening right now under our own noses. And across where we can look across the pond and see it, we're like, oh, yeah, it's terrible. But it's happening, and it's happening now.
Are you concerned, because we obviously talk about a lot of places, or parts of Belgium that are apparently pretty much no-go zone, obviously we know about Germany, France as well, you know, is that a genuine concern for you? And I want to know what you guys think at home as well. You know, are you concerned that we could end up wandering into a similar situation? Do you worry about the fact that one day we might have these kind of parallel societies?
It's all in the post now. I mean, I saw a thing the other day of people, you know, refusing to be moved on when they shouldn't have been praying in a park in London and all that sort of stuff. You know what I mean? It's already to some extent happening over here. You know, you get the East London mosque will deliberately block the whole of that road sometimes and all that sort of stuff. It should not be happening. It should not be allowed. It's not on. Do you know what I mean? You can't do that. It's not. That's not me having a go at anybody in particular for any race or religion or that sort of stuff. But what I am saying is you're going against the grain of what is the law of this land. Okay? And if you do such, you need to be shifted on, or need to be told, or need to be stopped.
Well, there's a lot of people. Well, a lot of people getting involved here. John Bradburn saying, "I think we're all concerned, but the government is not listening." I think that's pretty fair enough, John. Actually, I think a lot of people.
It's not that they're not listening, mate. They're all too busy pussyfooting around trying to be politically correct and not wanting to upset anybody all the time. But there comes a stage where you've got to upset somebody, or everybody's going to end up upset, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? That's
it. Yeah, I think that's this. If you have just constant policy of appeasement, of trying not to upset anyone, as you've said, you will end up wandering in a situation where you're not pleasing anyone. That's the thing, and you know, so that's a pretty piss-poor situation to be in, I think. So yeah, well, Shirley Bate, when will people wake up and see what is happening? We can see it. It's the leaders who can't. That's from Alison Stubbs. The one after that. Now, guys, great to have you all on. We have tackled a lot of topics so far today: military intervention in Syria, the domestic terror threat, the terror threat from Europe. We are, in a second or two, going to go to a break, but after this little break, we are going to be talking about the rampant crime wave on Britain's streets. We've got some videos to show you that I think are going to shock you to the core, possibly. We've got Big Phil here to talk about how he'd help clean up Britain's streets. So you just bear with us for a minute or so while we have this little break, and we will see you soon.
The odds were stacked in the favour of Remain. The money was stacked in the favour of Remain. The government, Whitehall, much of these big corporate interests, all backing Remain. It was a major upset victory for Leave to One.
But you are going to solve absolutely nothing if you completely ignore the other factor as well, and that is the fact, obviously at the minute, that mass migration is having a huge impact.
14-year-old shot in Seven Sisters and left with life-changing injuries. Is this not a national emergency?
People, presumably a lot of them, would have to be watched, because although they say that they're not a national security threat, you would imagine that in fact probably they are. Now that is a massive drain on our resource. Do you have any idea how many people it takes to watch someone 24/7? Right, guys, welcome back. Thank you very much for staying with us. As promised, we are here with Big Phil, ex-SAS legend himself, and we are now, we've handled Syria, we've handled the terror threat, we've handled all of that. It is now time to get to grips with this violent crime epidemic that appears to be sweeping Britain. So just in a nutshell, we've seen a story that we ran on Westmonster this morning, which I was quite shocked at personally, is that there's a machete attack every 90 minutes in Britain apparently, which just seemed a little bit mental. You know, this isn't some kind of backwater country. This is modern Britain we're talking about. And it says that in the last 2 months of 2017, police dealt with 928 crimes involving a machete, which sounds absolutely bonkers, doesn't it? And it's not just in London. We do get a bit of stick sometimes here for saying what we're focusing on London. No, this is going on in Greater Manchester, it's going on in the West Midlands, going on in Merseyside and West Yorkshire. Now, we've seen, certainly the crime wave's been getting a lot of publicity. Whether or not it is any worse than it has been in the past is for you to maybe decide, Big Phil, but it's certainly been getting a lot of publicity recently. What do you make of the kind of the political response to it and what we've seen from our leaders in response to the fact that, you know, it just seems like crime's a little bit out of control at the minute?
Again, we're getting a lot of pussyfooting around the main issues. You know, you look at people like Sadiq Khan and that, he's hardly attended anything in conjunction with anything that goes on with this.
Yeah.
He hasn't really publicly, you know, got amongst it and gripped it as much as he should have done. Okay. Politically, you know, again, we're being very soft. where actually, if we look around, police numbers are going down and not up. You know, training is not available for them. They're under-equipped. They haven't got tasers even, you know, and they can play, you know, they can't get the training. They don't want to be out. All that sort of stuff all going on. And it's just an undercurrent of everything that's making this whole place fall apart at the moment.
Yeah,
you know
and
what I mean?
there's a couple of things about this that really piss me off, actually. The first and foremost is the fact that we've sleepwalked into this situation whereby the police are chronically underfunded, chronically under-resourced. The population has been rising and rising and rising. It's not as if our social care has been great. So you have a load of people living in social deprivation where they're more likely to turn to crime. The amount of people using drugs has undoubtedly gone up. So again, that maybe opens a window there for more violent crime. And yet we have a set of politicians who are more intent on spending our resources, by the way, our taxpayers' cash, on trying to prove to the nation that they weren't to blame, instead of actually getting to grips and doing something about it. You know, I think that's a pretty shameful dereliction of duty, personally. We have some comments here saying, Tanis just saying, one machete attack every 90 minutes. That's absolutely shocking. And yeah, so basically that's stuff that, I mean, your take on this, I mean, we've seen a lot of people to come out recently and really have a big pop at Sadiq Khan. I know he's not exactly a favourite with our Westmonster viewers. You know, have you got any particular take on his personally with his handling of it, or what you'd like to see from him in general?
No, I think he should take a tougher stance, and he wants to represent all the communities and all that sort of stuff. So he should get on board, you know. And there is a slight thing, and I'm going to get people who are going to pop at me a little bit for this. But there is also an immigration issue with this as well for me, that, you know, machetes, really? You know, we used to get that in downtown Soweto. We didn't get it in London, do you know what I mean? And so some of this violence that's coming over has been imported, okay? It's been brought over. And it's been brought over on the backs of, you know, some of these Africans that come over here. They're extremely violent people who have no care and no wish to integrate, who don't care who they upset, hate or kill, okay? To the point that, you know, some of these Somali gangs and that, they'll pull a knife in a second. They'll pull a knife in a heartbeat. This is not the sort of stuff that's reaching the politicians because they don't understand, because they don't see it, because it's not their children that are being killed, okay? It's the children of the people that live on these estates, okay? And the whole thing is just escalating and rising, and coupled with another thing that people always slate for, coupled with the fact that violence is quite normal in computer games for youngsters nowadays, that you can drive a car over people, stab them nice and beat them, kick them, smash their faces in, okay? It's all just being trivialised, and like I say, when you've got a melting pot of so many people from so many different places that don't actually care anymore, you're hardly surprised there's a few people getting plugged.
There was a big article that the London Evening Standard did about this. Exactly your point there, where they'd got a reporter who'd gone in to investigate some of these gangs, and he basically got speaking to some of the gang members, and they said, look, the rules changed here a few years ago. The rules changed where basically they said that there was an increase in people coming from countries like Somalia, which is obviously, you know, feel very sorry for a lot of the Somalis, really. I mean, that country's non-existent.
Yeah, they've been through a hideous time.
Exactly.
We've imported people over here who are dangerous.
But their frames of reference, what's normal to them, is not necessarily very normal to us. And they were saying that they've noticed is what used to be not little, but fist fights, or what used to be, even if they did stab you, they might stab you in the leg, or they did something. He said all of a sudden people were just getting stabbed in the heart, left, right, and centre, with no regard. And I think that there is undoubtedly an element of truth to that there has been a step up in that kind of violence. Michael Norman saying superb film. I'm so glad there's a voice to get it out there. Wayne said it's quite apparent it's feral youth. Quite like that, Wayne. Cheers, mate. I
was feral as a kid, but I wasn't sticking machetes in people's heads.
No, you went and got paid for it.
I had a few fist fights. And I went and plied my trade.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, look, guys, one of the things that we talk about a lot here is just the fact that because there's no police, there's very few police now. I think the police numbers have gone down by 20,000 since 2009. Less bobbies on the beat, less resources. We are now seeing these moped gangs and these people that are coming out on the street. We're going to show you a video now. This was, well, it went online yesterday. I saw it yesterday. I'm not exactly sure when this video is from, but I'm pretty sure it's very recent, of one of these moped machete-wielding gangs in action. So see what you make of this.
Police for the police, control for the police. Attack, attack, attack.
Well, there we are. That's obviously pretty stark. I mean, as Phil said there when we were off air, there's not a single sod given, is there? You've got these people that are wandering around the streets of the capital, broad daylight, armed with multiple machetes and mopeds, trying to rob a jeweller's. I mean, what needs to be done to try and clamp down on this kind of wanton lawlessness, Phil?
Mate, you've got to identify who these people are. Once you've identified, they just go away for life. The sentences in this country are not stiff enough. They're not tough enough. Okay, and ultimately, you know, I think some form of capital punishment for the top offenders should be brought right back.
For violent offenders, so not just your murderers,
but doing that sort of stuff that have got no intent to integrate with us, that have got no intent on anything else other than disruptive, violent, hideous behaviour. Well, I'll tell you what, we'll be just as violent back, and we'll smash your head in.
It's all right, don't worry. It's all right. We're called Westmonster Uncensored. Don't worry, you can crack on. Yeah. Well, look, guys, let's see what you make of that now, because the capital punishment thing's a debate that is quite possibly about to be had, I think. So let us know what you think. Let us know what you think about what Big Phil has just said there. People need to start hitting folks that they see committing a crime. They were in cars. That's from Scott Turnbull. I mean, thank you, Scott.
Scott, that is easier said than done.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You know, you've got to know what you're doing to come up against. You know, you're going to get run through by these people. Do you know? It's the way that they cut around and absolutely don't care, which is the most shocking thing for me. Because they know even if they get caught, they're not going to get any serious bird. They're going to go away. They're going to get a couple of years. They're going to be back out again. Do you know what I mean? There's no deterrent for these people. There needs to be serious deterrent. If you tell a kid, nothing's really going to happen if you do that, of course he's not going to care, is he, anymore? And these people, seriously, as you've just seen, do not care. There was buses and taxis and, normal people could be going past that. Do you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. Absolutely insanely out of order. Okay, and it's because there is no comeuppance, there is no payday for your crime.
There you go. Well, look, Chris Southern's been in touch. Death penalty is the only way. Good seeing Phil, been following, says somebody else. Bring back hanging from Sandra Blackmore Wood. Oh, Westmonster readers are always very forthright with their views. And Evelyn Mitchell, capital punishment, 100%. I totally agree. I think that would be an interesting poll, actually, for us to do. Wayne Howard Saunders has said police are clearly firefighting. We also had another comment, I think it was from Alison Stubbs, I think I'm right in saying, who's a regular. The police seem to be too busy policing social media than actually going out there.
Oh, mate, it's just they're everywhere apart from they shouldn't be. They're tugging me for doing 32 and a 30. Do you know what I mean? That's what they're doing. They're doing anything but coming up face to face with these lunatics. And they need to get involved. They need to get equipped, they need to get trained, and they need to know how to handle these situations. Because there are areas in London now which people can just literally do exactly as they please, unchallenged, all right? These people are riding around on stolen peds with plates that don't match up anything. They're outrunning the police and all that sort of game, right?
Yeah.
Because there is no comeuppance and no end game if they get caught.
And what I will add to that, what I will add to that as well is, because the politicians are their main focus is just saving their own skin and getting re-elected, right? So they turn up to all the photo opportunities, they go to visit all the primary schools, they do all that. But you actually have a real issue now, and what I will say to you is this: all right, they might not affect you, Amber Rudd, it might not affect you or the politicians over there, because I'm sure you live in a lovely gated community, or certainly a very nice house. I'm sure that the people that you associate with are not in gangs. I'm sure that if you do have children, they go to lovely schools and they don't come into contact with some of these drug pushers running around Camden. But the reality is that your inaction is making life much worse for everybody else and making life much riskier for everybody else, and is actually costing lives. And you may well get re-elected and you may well be able to say, oh, I've dodged a crisis. Yes, fine, but you've completely ignored the job that you were elected to do.
And then there's all sorts of other issues that are surrounding this whereby, youths are getting involved because a lot of them have got nothing else to do. Seriously, a lot of them have got nothing else to do. They live on these massive estates. There's no opportunity. There's no fear of them ever getting anything that's going to achieve or accomplish anything in their lives. So they just drop straight into this. They've shut down all the funding for youth clubs and all that sort of stuff. There should be community projects to bring these people into the fold, to bring these kids in and give them an opportunity and push them forward and promote them and give them stuff that they can be proud of. Because at the moment, they're not proud of nothing. They've got nothing to be proud of. The flag that waves above the House of Commons, they could not give one damn for, okay? Because they have not been taught that. They've not been shown the way. They've not been instilled any discipline into them. It's not there anymore. It's a problem, okay? And it needs to be addressed from the very top to the very bottom.
Absolutely spot on. Well, look, we've got one more that I would like to get stuck in with you now. Phil, this is a story. Guys, just before I move on to this, just want to say thank you very much for all our viewers. please do give us a like, please do give us a retweet if you're watching on Twitter, do whatever it is you have to do on YouTube, and share this video. And also, as ever, please do visit westmonster.com/support and give generously, because we are doing a lot of things. We've got a lot of things in the pipeline and we need your help and support to help us do that. Now, finally, there is a story here that I think has got a huge amount of you very, very hot under the collar. You may remember there was this 78-year-old chap who woke up one night, he got out of bed next to his wife, who was suffering with dementia, to find a burglar, 2 burglars to be precise, in his house. One of them was in his kitchen. Anyway, he kills one of these burglars. He gets arrested on suspicion of murder. There's now shrines been taking place outside his house. Shrines to this dead bloke, who is apparently just part of a notorious crime family. This bloke's had to now go into protective custody, or protective witness protection, or whatever it's called, because his life's in danger. He can never return home. And people have been tearing down the shrines. People who I would regard as people with common sense and some form of decency have been tearing down these shrines. The police have asked people to respect the wishes of those placing flowers. I mean, this is absolutely mental, isn't it,
Let's
Phil?
put this into perspective, shall we? People put flowers there to respect Lee Rigby, who was taken from the streets of our town, and killed and cut to pieces by complete maniacs, okay? And his shrine is taken down. Now, all right, I understand that Lynn probably didn't 100% wasn't behind it, okay? But the facts were the public were behind it, and the public did want to see that shrine there and the flowers to Lee Rigby. And the authorities took those down. Yet you now get a scumbag that's prepared to go in somebody's house with a screwdriver and attack an old man who's defending his defenceless woman in her bed in his later years of his life.
Yeah.
And you're saying, well, let it be. Come on.
Again,
you know, we've got the front door syndrome here, haven't we? Shut it.
Yeah, the fact that there's even a debate about this, to me...
why are we even having this conversation? Why am I even here?
Yeah. The amount of times I've said that. No, but it's true, isn't it? And UK's moral compass is broken. That's from John Bradburn. And that's it. Poor behaviour once proud in this one proud country. That's from Scott.
That's a nice way of
James.
putting it. The moral compass as well. It's not just broken, mate. It's been stamped on and run over.
Would we allow...
Lunatics.
Yeah, I mean, you made the point, and I think this is the thing, you know, look, if flowers aren't getting taken down to the deemed what's the word? Not insensitive, but not particularly easy on the eye in the kind of Lee Rigby case, then you cannot possibly justify the fact that you've got a gypsy crime lord here who's been shanked to death while he's trying to rob an old bloke in his bed. Who's, you know, you can't go around having a shrine to this bloke around the place. I mean, that's absolutely mental. It is crazy this happens.
I mean, there should be a statue of the old man that did it, as far as I'm concerned. You know,
I'd give him a medal, yeah. But Suzanne Gamble, it is crazy, and the more this happens, the people take the law into their own hands. And as usual, the police are siding with the criminals. That's from Chandra Blackmore Wood. So look, guys, it's been an absolute bumper show today. I'm sure you agree, and I hope you've enjoyed having Big Phil with us as much as I have. He's an absolute legend, and he's welcome here anytime he wants. I hope we've set you up nicely for the weekend. He's back off to the Caribbean, I believe. He's not quite.
I'm not actually. I'm off to Norway. I'm going to the fjords for a while.
Oh, there you go.
I'm going to stick myself up some fjord somewhere.
Fantastic. Well, look, guys, you have a great weekend. Thanks to Big Phil as always. Please do visit our donations page. Just one last shameless plug for you to give us all your cash. And yeah, look, guys, have a great weekend. We will see you on Monday. Take care.